So as you certainly know by now, a few days ago was the first day of the month of Rajab. So I thought we would take just a few minutes to talk about this event or this time of the year for us and what it could mean. In a very idealistic way, in a very theoretical way, we know that the purpose of our existence is supposed to be pure, real servants to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, we're supposed to be all the time in a constant state of obedience and servitude. This is if we understood what it means to be a creature to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the reality is, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows this better than we know it ourselves of ourselves, we are not that good. We're not worthy of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has flipped the equation. By default, we should always be in a state of obedience and servitude. This should be by default. And by exception, we should be doing something else. We should be distracted from that state. That's what it should be. In practice, however, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done out of His mercy for us, because He knows what types of creatures we are and how we will be, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has flipped the equation. So by default, for the majority of us, people like me, we're not in a state of obedience and worship constantly. We live a normal life. We're usually in a mode of distraction with one thing or another from that state of obedience and servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that's okay. He made it this way. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with His Lordship, He has given us that guidance. But He's added places and times, ways to hook us back just enough so that we meet the minimum. So those times and those places, they happen to be things that we encounter throughout our lives. For instance, He's put times during every day. 5 times a day, He created a hook. So that while your state by default is not in constant obedience and servitude and worship to Allah, for 2 minutes here and 3 minutes there, there's a hook to bring you back to a time where you are in that state. At least to create that minimum required to stay as a servant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is during a day. This is one day. This is a 24-hour cycle. We also have a week cycle. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that cycle, He put one day that He made very special. He made Fridays a very blessed day. It's a special day. It's the day that you connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during that time. So these are special times. They're blessed times. He created those times during the months. So if you go back to the books of worship, you see that the beginnings of the months, the middles of the months, and the ends of the months are always very special. Okay? And there are charities that you give at the beginning of the month. There's a prayer that you perform at the beginning of the month. There's a salute to do at the end of the month, and the salute that comes with the moon cycles. And every day of every month, there's also prayers and visitations and so on and so forth. If you look at the cycle of a year, you see that there are times, for instance, there are the days in which people perform the pilgrimage, the season of the pilgrimage, the 10 days. These are very special days, regardless of whether you are performing the pilgrimage or not. These are holy, blessed times in the year that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made special. It's like you are entering into something. Whether you realize or not, you are now in a special holy time of the year. And then in our lifetimes, He's also put in the cycle of our lives, He's also said minimum one pilgrimage. And in the year, I skipped over Shahr Ramadan. I didn't finish it. In the cycle of the 12 months, every year, there is one 30-day cycle. And in that 30-day cycle, it's supposed to be that climax of your spirituality and your link and your obedience and your servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't stop there. Around all of those events that are considered to be the strict minimum, you cannot do less than those events. If you do less, you're not considered a practicant Muslim. So this is the bare bones minimum. There are also things that have been put in place so that you fully benefit from those minimums. And you can do some things around them out of yourself, your goodness, and you want to get more maximum reward out of them. And there are things that have been put in place to help you with that. Some of those acts and some of those times and some of those rituals are surrounded with things that allow you to gain maximum benefit from those times. Some of them are obligatory, some of them are recommended. If today, one of you guys, I know a lot of you go to the gym. Let's say you want to go to the gym. When you go to the gym, you don't run into the gym and go to the heaviest weight and just pick it up. There's a prep that you do before. There's a warm-up that you do before and you build up to it. In fact, if you know what you're doing in the gym, it's not only a physical prep. You actually prepare yourself mentally to have a good session at the gym. And the proof is that sometimes there's nothing wrong with you physically, but mentally you're just tired. You know you're not going to have a good session at the gym. You don't even go. It's going to be a waste of time. You're not in the mood. Okay. Same thing. If you want to go to sleep, if you want to have productive sleep and deep sleep, there's a whole science right now about sleeping. They teach you how to prep so that you have the most productive sleep, the most restful sleep, so that fewer hours or fewer minutes lead to much more rest and feeling much more refreshed when you wake up. Same thing when you wake up in the morning. There are things that you can do to prep so that you can tackle the day properly. And those are sometimes physical things, and sometimes they are psychological things. But there's always a prep. This is the kind of creature we are. So that we fully benefit from something, we have to prepare ourselves physically and mentally for it. And our religion teaches us this. If I'm about to go into an interview, I don't just walk into the interview. I prepare before. If I'm going to meet someone important, I research them. I see who they are. I ask about them. What's the best way? What's the etiquette? What am I supposed to do here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for instance, at the time of prayer, He doesn't say you just come and stand in front of me and Allahu Akbar, which a lot of us, we do. Because we don't realize, or we're distracted, or we forget what the prayer is supposed to be and before whom we're standing. We wouldn't do it if it's an interview, but we do it with God. And He's okay with that. But He says, before you stand to pray, I'm going to give you a few moments so that you reap more benefit from your prayer. Do an iqamah. And to get the full benefit of the prayer, add to the iqamah, add an adhan. This is supposed to be preparing you mentally so that you know what you're about to do. You understand the words that you're saying and what you're about to start doing. And before you do your adhan, go do a wudu. Purify yourself physically. And during this time, there's also prayers that you can say that start preparing you mentally and spiritually for what you're about to do in the prayer. Our religion is entirely built this way. It understands how our psychology works, and it gives us the tools to take full advantage of everything we do and everything that's prescribed to us in our religion. Now, let's go back to what we said earlier. In the year, we said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put a special time to connect with Him. That is the month of Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan. And in the month of Ramadan, even that month on its own, in itself, it's like it's built so that you reach a certain spiritual climax towards the nights of Layali al-Qadr, right? Towards the 19th up to the end of the month. And usually the climax is 19 to 23. But we have a lot of our riwayat. The Holy Prophet would not sleep in a bed for the last 12 nights or 11 nights of Shahr Ramadan. He would fold his bed, which was a hasira. He would fold his hasira. There's no more sleeping. This is the maximum. He's built up to it. If there's any maximum to be gained, it's now. This is the opportunity. After that, it's done. The window is closed. The opportunity's passed. You have energy to put. This is where you put it. Okay. This is the month itself and how it's structured. It's how it's engineered. The month of Ramadan. Before the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also given us 2 months to prepare. So that we don't just barge into the gym and lift the heavy weight of Shahr Ramadan. So that we do the warm-up, so that we start preparing ourselves psychologically, spiritually, so that it actually does what it's supposed to do from night 1. I can't start benefiting from Shahr Ramadan on night 20. I've wasted 20 nights. This is 20 days of wastage. If I'm only waking up and starting to get into the routine and starting to be aware of the spirituality of the month, and I've already wasted 2-3 weeks, what's left? I'm supposed to get a full advantage of 30 days and nights here. How do I get that? Those who understand what they're doing, who understand this and who really want the full benefit, they start in the month of Rajab. When the month of Rajab enters, if you read the riwayat of Ahlul Bayt, this is what they mean. That's why they say in the riwayat, Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, they say on the day of judgment, there's a call that comes out of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that says, Aina al-Rajabiyun? Where are those who really understood the importance of Shahr Rajab? And the Imams tell us that the Rajabiyun are those who fasted at least 1 day in Rajab. That's all. That's all you need. But of course, that's a minimum. That's for those who are always looking for the minimum just to enter. You can do so much more. I'm sure the person who fully realizes and fully takes advantage of Shahr Rajab is not someone who just fasted 1 day in the 30 days of Rajab. It's someone who really understands how Rajab can build up to Shahr Ramadan. So the point of all of this is what? The point of all of this, for people like you, and I hope that I don't have to tell you, and I hope that you do realize, there are times when something like this kind of feeling is a bad thing to have. And there are times when it's a good thing to have because it adds responsibility to you, and that's how I'm saying it. I hope you all sitting here tonight, you all realize that you are special. You cannot consider yourself to be like anyone else. This is a Saturday night. You probably have a million other things more fun to do than sitting here talking about God and religion. And yet here you are. Which means that you are special. that you've decided to be here at this time, people like you should not be in the same state of mind and in the same spiritual state in the month of Rajab. You cannot be in an equal state before Rajab and after Rajab and during Rajab. You have to realize this is an opportunity. This is 30 days and that's it. That window will be closed until the next Rajab. If we're still alive until the next Rajab. And we're still Muslims and Shia and worshipping and good and guided. We don't know what's going to happen and if you're going to get again this special opportunity. That's it. Shahr Sha'ban is another opportunity. Rajab is its own opportunity. It's this 30 days. The point is simply that you realize this is a window of 30 days that you have that is supposed to, the easiest way to understand it is to see it as preparatory work that you do for the month of Ramadan. And you should not, you have to make sure that you do not live in the exact same way that you did before entering into the month of Rajab. And it doesn't matter what you do. That's between you and how you want to engineer yourself and your spirituality and your time leading up to the month of Ramadan. You can decide whatever that is. Maybe you decide to do Ziyat Imam al-Hussein every day. That's it. Maybe you decide to give sadaqah. Maybe you decide to donate of your time, or to help people, or to get closer to a family member, or to perform a bit more prayers, or stay up after Salat al-Subuh and read a bit of Quran, or try to educate yourself in religion so that you feel you have a better connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or to the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, or whatever you may decide. You should have something that becomes easy enough to replicate. You have 30 days. But something that you feel is actually making a change for you. And you feel that, good, check mark, you accomplished this. There's a concrete accomplishment at the end of this month. And the second piece, to go back to something that we said before, this is the external ritual. We don't come up with those. This is the obedience part. We're lucky enough that our religion tells us what we need to do. I don't come up with my own acts of worship and invent them. Right? They're all there. I just need to obey. The important thing, in addition to this, that I wanted to mention is the key should always be to improve your state as an obedient servant. When we started talking, we said the point of our existence is to be obedient servants. And unfortunately, we are not always obedient servants. The minimum of an obedient servant is not to disobey. To be in a state where you feel that you're an obedient servant. So it's not necessarily just doing act upon act and ritual upon ritual of worship. If you do, great, bonus for you, kudos. But more important, and before that, the premise to that is that you try to put yourself in a state where you are actually feeling like you are an obedient servant. So for the month of Rajab, if we go back to what we were saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created places and times that are holy, that are sacred, that are blessed. You have to feel that you entered into that. When you walk into a library, you behave a certain way because of the place, because of the location. When you enter into a museum, you act in a different way. When you walk into a courthouse, you behave in a different way. When you walk into the Kaaba, you behave in a different way. When you enter in a time that is supposed to be blessed, you're supposed to also behave in a different way. The time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking for you to pray, that's supposed to be a different way for you to be. These 2 minutes, these 5 minutes that I'm going to pray, I'm going to be an obedient servant. There are times in the day, there are times in the week, there are times in the month, there are times in the year where you have to force yourself to go back to being an obedient servant. Which means not only not sinning, it means not even thinking of sinning. Which means pushing your spirituality to another level. Whatever level you are at now, it needs to be held up a notch, brought up a notch. Just one. Then you've accomplished the goal. You've used that time properly. You've pushed yourself up one. You've pushed it to another gear and you've benefited from that time. And if you do, I assure you Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will push you up again. You just need to make that little effort by yourself, and Allah blesses that effort, compounds that effort. But you have to make a step. You have to walk one step. Make one step in that direction. That's all you need to do. So in this month, if you can do one thing in addition to your act of worship, this is external, this is for you, how you manage your life, what you want to control. The part that I would add, not only this month, all the time, but this is a great opportunity now. This is the whole point of our entire existence. This is where you put it in practice. Try to view this as a time that has been given a special blessing, a special holiness, a special sacredness by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 30 days and it's over. That's it. If you can put yourself in that state of mind where you are now for the next 30 days an obedient servant, and you take it one day at a time. That's it. Don't look at it as 30 days. The 30 days will pass by like this. Look at it as one day at a time. You wake up, you're an obedient servant. You just have to repeat that 30 times. That's 30 days. If you can repeat something 30 days, you can do it your whole life, I assure you. That's the whole point of worship. The whole point of regular worship. If you can do it one day, you can do it 2 days. If you can do it 2 days, you can probably do it 10 days. If you do it 10, you can probably do it 30 and 40. If you can do it 40 days, you can probably do it your whole life. It has become a habit. What's your excuse? Keep it up and add to it another good habit. That you start one day at a time. One day at a time, once a week, once a month, twice a month, 10 times a month, and slowly it becomes a habit. But all of this takes awareness and a little bit of an effort. And that's it. That's it. So for the month of Rajab, inshallah, we take full advantage of it. We keep in mind that this is our preparation. In 2 months, inshallah, we enter into the holy month of Ramadan. We want to take full advantage of those 30 days and nights from day 1. Not day 25 or 20 or 15. From day and night 1, we want to be benefiting to the maximum from every second from the holy month of Ramadan, and it starts right now. So inshallah we take full advantage of it. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.